Rings is directed by F. Javier Gutierrez, written by David Luca, Jacob Aaron Estes, and Akiva Goldsman, and stars Matilda Lutz, Alex Rowe, and Johnny Galecki. And Rings is allegedly the third film in the American Ring franchise, even if it doesn't feel that way, and follows a girl named Julia, played by Matilda Lutz, who tries to look for her boyfriend Holt, played by Alex Rowe, when he disappears after getting involved with a group of people who are experimenting with Samara's cursed videotape. Now, if you've seen my videos for my reviews of The Ring and The Ring 2, you'll know that I think The Ring, the original, is pretty good. I think The Ring 2 sucked, and so I was honestly expecting this movie to be even worse, just another product of diminishing returns. And I can confidently say that not only is it a bad movie, it's one of the worst theater experiences I've ever had. Like, this movie is so astronomically boring, and it makes The Ring 2 look like, I don't know, something like Back to the Future. It's also visually extremely ugly and has nothing of value to add in terms of lore or mythology to the franchise. Now, The Ring 2 was a departure from the spirit of the original American film, in that it was less of like a mystery sort of movie. However, this movie just feels like a bad parody of that original The Ring. It just does not feel realistic to me that a college-age girl like Julia can spend so much time investigating. Like, where is her family like looking for her? Doesn't she have schoolwork to do? And what's annoying is that what she's investigating in this movie doesn't really have to do with Samara and doesn't really reveal anything about the character that we don't already know from the first two movies, so it really doesn't add anything. And of course, this movie completely lacks any sort of real characterization. The characters here are hollow shells of human beings with no believable motivations whatsoever. You don't care about any of them, and again, it's just so extremely hard to believe that there is a large group of people operating in this college, that they'd still be experimenting with this cursed videotape even after it's been proven that people have been dying because they've been watching the tape. It probably would have been a bad idea to bring back Naomi Watts for this movie, but I feel like this film could have benefited from that, because at least we'd have a character arc to look forward to, because here, you don't care about anybody and they don't really go through anything that changes them in any relevant way. Now, Matilda Lutz, the actress for Julia, she's not bad in the lead role, but this is one of those rare cases where the material is just so vacuous and flat that an actor has just absolutely no room to interpret it in an interesting way, so there's nothing she could have done to make this role work, I think. Alex Rowe, though, as the boyfriend, he's just not good, and he looks nothing like what a college freshman should look like, even like in America. And there's no real boyfriend-girlfriend chemistry between these two actors. It doesn't feel like they're in a relationship together, and you don't feel for that relationship. The movie starts out, in fact, with them in bed. It's like the movie doesn't know how to convey that these two people love each other, so they show them in their underwear in the very first scene, which is really lazy storytelling. Johnny Galecki, who you might know from The Big Bang Theory, I believe, misses a big opportunity here to make his character seem at least kind of threatening or disturbed. He's just very forgettable. And Vincent D'Onofrio is in this movie, but he hams it up so much, and not exactly in a good way. Now, if you couldn't already tell from my tone of voice and what I've been saying about this movie, of course, Rings does not have the same slow burn dread and atmosphere of the original film. It's more similar in tone to The Ring 2, but it's even worse. So of course, there are a lot of jump scares, there are a lot of fake outs. There's a section near the end that totally comes across like a budget version of Don't Breathe, except without much of the suspense. Directorially, it's just so messy, and even during like normal scenes where characters are talking, you never really know what's going on, because about half the shots in this entire movie are close-ups, and not in an aesthetically pleasing way. You know, it's not like, God forbid, Son of Saul, where the close-ups, you know, are really there to serve a point. Here, it's just like, I don't know, it's just tiresome to keep up with all these close-ups, so you don't know who's talking to whom, you don't know like what's happening when there's action. And then we get to the pacing of this movie. This movie is edited by Jeremiah O'Driscoll and Steve Merkovich, and it's just incomprehensible how boring this movie is. First of all, the characters are shuttled around from place to place without a real sense of time elapsing between scenes. So there's no suspense, like I said, because the film lacks timing. What I'm thinking is that not all mystery films have to be slow-paced, but there's something about the setup of The Ring itself as a story, as a franchise, and its reliance on dread, that whole 7 days thing, that makes a slower pace seem like the ideal choice, because then it would maximize that sort of dread. But you know a movie is bad and boring when a Filipino audience stops reacting during a horror movie, because normally we're very sensitive to horror in the sense that we like sort of teasing each other while we're watching the movie. We like trying to predict when jump scares are gonna happen, and we like freaking each other out in the cinema. In this movie, about halfway through, I swear to God, everyone fell asleep. And you couldn't hear a peep out of anybody. It was that boring. Because if there's one thing that even bad horror movies have, it's visuals that are either gross to look at or campy enough to laugh at. Either way, that's what makes watching a horror movie in a cinema just so much fun for a lot of people. You know, like I said, you can freak each other out and predict jump scares. But the problem with Rings is that aside from the fact that it has bad CGI, which by the way I forgot to mention in my review for The Ring 2, is that movie had this awful CGI scene with a bunch of deer attacking a car, and it was really, really bizarre. But here, the CGI is also bad. The cinematography from Sharon Mayer is incomprehensible, and this is the part that really, really gets to me, because about 80% of the shots in Rings are just so unforgivably underlit, or they're muddy, or they're badly colored. And I knew it wasn't just the cinema, like it wasn't like the cinema was having a problem with the projector, because the other shots in the movie were fine, but every time it was nighttime, which was often, I tried squinting at the screen to see if I could see anything, and I just saw nothing. It blew my mind just how poorly conceived these shots were. Rings is a great example of how really bad visuals can kill any and all interest an audience has in a film. There's absolutely nothing in this movie that is remarkable, from the very opening, which takes place on a plane, which you can see in the trailer, which is just as ridiculous as it is in the movie as this in the trailer. To the fact that it sets up for a sequel by the end, it sets up for another sequel. It's just like, I don't know what they're gonna do with this franchise anymore. So of course, Rings is a terrible, terrible film. Do not watch this movie, and if there's somebody out there who is in charge of making these movies, please stop, because no one wants these movies anymore. There's nowhere you can go with a premise like The Ring, so just stop. Please stop. Alright, so those are my thoughts on Rings. Have you guys seen it? What do you think about it? Whatever you guys think, whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.